Today is a very special day. Now, I know most of you either had the day off or if you were at school. I remember a couple of times when we were at school on November 11th, where at the 11th hour and 11 minutes past that, we had our moment of silence for those who gave their life during World War I. And, today is a very important and significant day. It used to be referred to as Armistice Day, and in most of the old British Commonwealth areas, it's referred to now as Remembrance Day, and then in the States, it is referred to as Veterans Day. And this is one of those days where, you know what, you should salute and appreciate the fact that military forces around the world are very important, and they do a very courageous thing, and I wholeheartedly support and salute those men and women who gave their life and who served in, well, all facets of the armed forces. My eternal gratitude, and in my family, extended family, I know for sure we have former armed forces members, and I'm sure everybody watching has definitely been touched, not in that way, but know a family member or a friend who have served, and my hat's off to those courageous men and women out there. And I want to go ahead and let you know why we celebrate Remembrance Day, and for Canadians specifically, our most significant contribution to World War I, and quite possibly our most significant contribution in an armed forces sense. So this is just straight off the Veterans Affair page from the Canadian website here, but it's a good refresher course from the last time that you probably learned anything when it came to Canadian exceptionalism. It's not exactly something that you hear about a lot, but it's important to know. Remembrance Day was first observed in 1919 throughout the British Commonwealth. It was originally called Armistice Day to commemorate Armistice Agreement that ended the First World War on Monday, November 11th, 1918 at 11 in the morning on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. From 1921 to 30, Armistice was held on the Monday of the week in which November 11th fell. In 31, Alan Neil, Member of Parliament for Comox Alberni, introduced a bill to observe Armistice Day only on November 11th, as it should be. Stop being stupid. Passed by the House of Commons, the bill also changed the name to Remembrance Day. The first Remembrance Day was observed on November 11th, 31. I don't know about you guys, but I like Armistice Day better. It's a more accurate description, and just dumbing it down so people can go, oh, Remembrance Day. No, just refer to it as Armistice Day if you know you're in the know. Every year on November 11th, Canadians pause for a moment of silence, and this is what I was referencing in the beginning there. I remember a couple of times going to school on Remembrance Day, or at least maybe the day before or the day after. I haven't been in grade school for a long time, but Canadians pause for a moment of silence to honor and remember the men and women who have served and continue to serve Canada during times of war, conflict, and peace. We remember more than 2,300,000 Canadians who have served throughout the nation's history, and more than 118,000, we don't have that many, who made the ultimate sacrifice, and bravest men and women on the face of the earth, bar none. The poppy is a symbol of Remembrance Day. Replica poppies are sold by the Royal Canadian Legion to provide assistance to veterans. And they used to have the old, I don't know if you guys are old enough or if I'm dating myself with this one, but we used to have the felt poppies there, and they would have the green dot in the middle, which wasn't necessarily correct, but I seem to remember those a lot throughout my childhood. And we have a very, I had an article up here, but I didn't feel like vomiting during this because Remembrance Day, Armistice Day is a very significant demarcation point in history where it was probably, I hate to say this, but one of the most unnecessary wars that were ever fought, because it didn't resolve anything. It just made the issues much more ingrained in Europe, and there are fantastic YouTube channels and deep dives on the subject, and I will only be able to gloss over the top of it because my childhood education on the First World War was very lackadaisical, and at this point in time I cannot properly document how important and how horrific the First World War was. But doing something as simple as donating to your Royal Canadian Legion, our largest supporter of veteran affairs, for those of you not in the know, it's one of those things where you just donate as much as you can. You just buy them every year. So whatever, just go out and please do that if you haven't already. And yeah, the article that I had pulled up here before was this time last year, Don Cherry, who is, if you're not from Canada, he was the head coach of the Boston Bruins during the time of Bobby Orr, and he a very pro-Canadian patriot who takes a significant amount of offense to the people who don't respect those who paid the ultimate price while serving in the military. He was commenting on the fact that immigrants would come to Canada and not pay the proper respect to that, and his comments got taken way out of context. And he was a man who was a part of the most important institution in Canada, a hockey night in Canada. He would have Coach's Corner at the first intermission of every significant hockey game, more importantly on Saturday nights. If you're from Canada, you know. And yeah, he always had the best takes. He was all about old school hockey, men being men. And yeah, like I said there to begin with, he was just a very staunch Canadian patriot, something that Canada doesn't necessarily deal with the best. They kind of like everybody to be at the same level, but whenever somebody breaks that mold a little bit, they eventually get taken down. And Don Cherry is not a young man by any means, so he got fired for making that comment, which I don't know, 3 or 4 people took offense to, and I found it to be absolutely atrocious at the time, because he was just expressing sentiments that a lot of people felt. And yeah, 6 or 7 sissies out there wrote their smear pieces, and it got him fired. And I didn't want to bring that up, those articles I mean, but it's important to understand that patriotism in Canada is not as deep and as respected as it should be, mostly because our Prime Minister does a great job of trying to sanitize Canadian culture as best as he possibly can. Like I said, I'm not terribly proud of the direction that Canada's going in, and I think Alberta's doing a great job because it is such a diverse place, and I mean diverse in the best sense of the word, and the fact that it's geographically diverse. And literally, you can go from one end of the province to the other. It will take you a long time to do that if you are going by vehicle, but you'll go through foothills and mountains and forests and lakes, and it is a beautiful place to be. And that is not unlike the rest of Canada as well. It is a very free, rich place that is potentially heading down the wrong path, but by all means, you should, if you live in Canada, you should love Canada and all the freedoms that it affords you. So yeah, long story short, just buy a fucking poppy, okay? And as you can see here, the rest of the points on the map, or on this list here, are, you know, just your standard fare. Okay, we have a national ceremony at the National War Memorial in our capital, Ottawa. There are many around every city in the country there. I know here in Grand Prairie we have one at the Cenotaph, and all living veterans come down, and it's properly attended, but I think stupid COVID probably put a damper on it this year. But it's not unlike Veterans Day celebrations in the United States. Celebrations and ceremonies, however you'd like to remember the day, for sure. I think that they should be celebrations, because what they do is definitely worthy of your celebration. But Canada, not being known as the most militarily active country in the entire world, our most significant battle, and the one that you might have heard of if you're not Canadian, is probably the Battle of Vimy Ridge. Now, this World War I skirmish in 1917 marked the first time that the Allies' 4 Canadian divisions attacked together as a Canadian Corps. The Corps launched their offensive at Vimy on Easter Sunday, and within 3 days had eradicated the German defenses. So Canadians kicked Germans' asses in World War I. Score 1 for the good guys. And we also burnt down the White House, so fuck off. This swift victory was achieved through excellent artillery preparation and effective infantry tactics, and was boosted by the Canadian advantage in personnel that allowed them to endure a higher casualty count. Part of the larger Battle of Arras, the capture of Vimy Ridge helped establish the Canadian Corps as a premier fighting force. For the first time in World War I, the 4 Canadian divisions attacked together as a Canadian Corps at Vimy in northern France. Some historians have seen this as a pivotal moment in the development of the Canadian identity. Vimy Ridge has defied previous attacks by the Allies, but in early 1917, its capture formed part of a larger battle, supporting the British attack at Arras, which itself assisted a major French offensive. Always bailing out those stupid Frenchmen. On Easter Sunday, 9th of April, at 5:30 in the morning, the Canadian Corps swept forward in a sleet storm and took nearly all its objectives on schedule that day. Over the next 3 days, the last German defenses on the left were captured. The swift victory was achieved primarily through an excellent artillery preparation and creeping barrage, but also good infantry training and execution, effective infantry tactics, learning on the barrage, poor German defense plans, the sleet as cover. Come on now. Let's not diminish the fact that this was a significant moment in our military's history here. We kicked some German ass, okay? Let's not trying to throw any shade our direction, okay? The Canadian Corps also outnumbered the defenders by 35,000 to 10,000, and with flank support deployed 1,130 guns. This latter concentration was more than double the density used at the Battle of the Somme. Canadian casualties amounted to around 10,500, whereas the German defenders lost almost all their strength, including 4,000 prisoners. The capture of Vimy Ridge pointed to the future, where similar careful set pieces attack in 1917 and 18 established the Canadian Corps as a premier fighting force. And it's something that is undertaught in schools and underreported at the world at large. Well, listen, okay, the battle took place 103 years ago. Can't necessarily be trumpeting a victory that took that long to properly contextualize, but yeah, it's a significant part of our history, and more Canadians should definitely know about the fact that we were once a revered military and not just, snowplow pushers in the Greater Toronto area. Yeah, have to wear that one. We are more than just peacekeepers up here. We are a significant fighting force, and even in the United States, where you guys have the greatest military ever assembled, you don't use it, or at least haven't in the past 4 years, which is likely to change, unfortunately, as a force for good in the world. And there are as many people as like to say, oh, the military is bad, and have their fucking childish accusations leveled towards it. It is a force for good in the world, and normally has been. And my hats are off to everyone who has served at every level: police, fire, military, Air Force, Marines, Navy. I'm forgetting a bunch. National Guard, Coast Guard. All of you are very significant. All of you don't get enough credit for what you do, and I thank you all very much for your service. Hopefully that little history lesson helped you guys out and better understand that Canada is a little bit more than just those kindly folks to the north with a weird accent. I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.